The morning light of 3 suns filtered through the crystal windows of the medical council chamber. Dr. Vix stood quietly, her four-fingered hands clasped behind her back as she faced the stern faces of the council members. Their blue skin seemed to glow in the morning light, making them look even more serious than usual. "You want to go where?" The head council member leaned forward, his long neck stretching across the desk. "Earth. That's a Deathworld, Dr. Vix. Classification 7. Do you understand what that means?" Vix nodded slowly. Her silver eyes blinked twice as she gathered her thoughts. "Yes, Elder. Earth is a planet with extreme weather, high gravity, dangerous wildlife, and very strong natives. But that's exactly why I want to go. Their medical research program." "Their medical program?" Another council member cut in. "These humans break bones and heal them for fun. They poison themselves regularly for entertainment. They willingly enter burning buildings to save others. And they survive," Vix said quietly. "They survive things that would kill any of us. Imagine what we could learn from them." The council chamber fell silent. Vix could feel their doubt pressing against her skin like a physical thing. Her species could sense biochemical changes in others. It made them excellent doctors. Right now, she could sense their fear and worry mixing together like bitter medicine. "The gravity alone," the head elder started, "is twice what I'm used to," Vix finished. "I've been training. Look." She pulled out a small device from her medical coat and turned it on. A hologram appeared, showing her exercise records. "I've been using a gravity chamber for the past 6 months. I can handle it now." The council members looked at each other, their neck frills twitching in surprise. One of them, Dr. Rao, spoke up. "You knew this assignment was coming." "I requested it," Vix admitted. "The humans opened their first joint medical facility 3 months ago. They need alien doctors who understand different species, and we need to understand them." The head elder sighed, a sound like wind through leaves. "You were always stubborn, Vix, ever since you were a student. But this is beyond stubborn. It's dangerous. Humans are." He paused, searching for the right word. "Fascinating," Vix finished for him. "They're fascinating. They live on a planet that should kill them. And instead, they thrive. Their bodies can repair damage that would be fatal to us. They can survive in temperatures that range from freezing to burning, sometimes in the same day. And somehow, they're not just surviving. They're reaching for the stars." She stepped forward, her voice growing stronger. "We call Earth a death world because we can't survive there easily. But humans, they call it home. They built civilizations there. They developed medicine and science despite all the dangers. Think about what that means for medical science." The council members whispered among themselves. Vix could sense their mood shifting, fear giving way to curiosity. She pressed her advantage. "The human medical facility has safety measures, special gravity controls in the alien sections, air filters, temperature regulation. They've thought of everything to make it work." The head elder raised his hand for silence. "You understand that if we approve this, you'll be the first of our kind to work directly with humans. The responsibility." "I understand," Vix said firmly. "I'll document everything. Every difference, every surprise, every discovery. We need to understand how humans work if we're going to treat them. And maybe we'll learn something that will help us too." The council chamber grew quiet again. The head elder looked at each council member in turn. One by one, they nodded. Finally, he turned back to Vix. "Very well, Dr. Vix. Your assignment to Earth Medical Facility 1 is approved. But be careful. These humans, they don't seem to understand the meaning of impossible." Vix felt her neck frills rise in excitement, but she kept her voice steady. "Thank you, Council. I won't let you down." As she walked out of the chamber, her mind was already racing with preparations. She had studied human medical texts, but reading about humans and treating them would be very different things. The text said humans could survive losing huge amounts of blood, repair broken bones in weeks, and fight off infections that would kill other species. What she didn't know was that these texts had only scratched the surface of what humans could do. She was about to learn that firsthand. Dr. Vix's first day at Earth Medical Facility 1 started with a headache. The gravity was exactly as heavy as she had trained for, but training wasn't the same as living in it. She adjusted the support belt around her waist and checked her environment suit one more time before entering the hospital. The automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the lobby was a mix of familiar and strange. The walls were plain white, much like hospitals on her world, but the beings walking through them were anything but plain. Humans of different colors and sizes moved about, their two legs carrying them with surprising speed and balance. Dr. Vix, a tall human in white coat, approached her. "I'm Dr. Mike. Welcome to Earth. How are you handling the gravity?" "I'm managing," Vix said, trying to stand straighter. Her neck frills twitched as she picked up the biochemical signatures around her. "Everything feels intense here." Mike smiled. "You'll get used to it. Let's start with something simple." An alarm blared through the hospital. Red lights flashed along the corridors. Mike's smile disappeared as he touched the small device in his ear. "Construction accident. Multiple casualties coming in. Ready for a crash course in human emergency medicine." Before Vix could answer, the emergency doors burst open. Humans in bright orange vests rushed in, pushing beds with more humans on them. Vix's medical sensors went wild, picking up stress chemicals, pain signals, and was that excitement. "Got a worker with multiple fractures," one of the emergency workers called out. Beam fell on him, still conscious. Vix hurried to the bed, then stopped in shock. The human male lying there had breaks in both legs and 3 ribs. Her sensors picked up internal bleeding. By all medical logic, he should be unconscious from pain. Instead, he was talking. "Hey, Doc," the worker said, looking at her with curious eyes. "You're new here, Va. Don't worry, just a few broken bones. Had worse falling off my bike as a kid." Mike stepped in smoothly. "Let's get him to Trauma Room 3. Dr. Vix, want to assist?" The next few hours were a blur of activity. Vix watched in amazement as the humans worked. They moved fast, made quick decisions, and seemed to ignore their own need for rest. More shocking were the patients. They recovered from anesthesia faster than any species she had ever seen. Their bodies started healing almost immediately. "How is this possible?" she asked Mike during a brief break. That first patient, with those injuries, he should have been in critical condition, but he was joking about it. Mike handed her a cup of something hot. Coffee. Her training reminded her. Humans have a high pain tolerance. We also heal pretty quick. Evolution on a Deathworld will do that to you. Before Vix could respond, another emergency call came in. This time it was a child, brought in with a high fever and an infection. Vix's sensors told her the infection was severe enough to be fatal. She started to prepare herself for the worst. But 3 hours later, the child was sitting up in bed, asking for something called ice cream. The infection that should have been deadly was already responding to treatment. "Their immune system," Vix muttered, making notes on her medical pad. "It's not just fighting the infection, it's learning from it. Adapting." How many times have humans faced this pathogen before? "First time for this strain," Mike said casually. "We get new ones pretty often. Bodies figure it out eventually." The day's final surprise came in the form of a runner with what they called a sprained ankle. The joint was swollen and damaged, but the patient walked in on her own power. "You should be using supports," Vix insisted, her medical training overwhelming her shock. "The damage to the ligaments." "It's not that bad," the runner said, shrugging. "Just wrap it up, Doc. I've got a race next week." After her shift ended, Vix sat in her gravity-adjusted quarters, reviewing her notes. Everything she had seen today challenged her medical training. Humans didn't just survive injuries that would kill other species, they seemed to expect to survive them. They planned around their recoveries as if they were minor inconveniences. "Computer," she said quietly, "start new research file. Title: Human Medical Anomalies, Day 1. She paused, then added, "Note: Current medical texts severely underestimate human resilience. Further study required." Outside her window, the sun was setting on her first day on Earth. She had a feeling there would be many more surprises to come. 3 weeks into her Earth assignment, Dr. Vix was starting to feel more comfortable with the gravity. She had even learned to predict some of the strange things humans did, but nothing could have prepared her for what happened that morning. The floor started shaking. At first, it was gentle, like the rumble of a passing transport. Then it grew stronger. The walls creaked. Medical equipment rattled on shelves. Vix's legs trembled as she tried to keep her balance. "Earthquake," Mike shouted from across the room. "Everyone follow emergency protocols." Vix had read about earthquakes in her Earth studies. The planet's crust moved sometimes, causing everything to shake. But reading about it was very different from feeling the ground move under her feet. The shaking got worse. Somewhere, glass broke. The lights flickered, then went out. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in a red glow. Vix watched in amazement as the humans around her moved with purpose, securing patients and equipment like they had practiced this 1,000 times. "Dr. Vix," Mike called out, "we need you in the main hall. This is going to get busy." He was right. Within minutes, the first victims arrived. Not in ambulances. Those couldn't get through the damaged streets. Instead, other humans carried them in. Regular people who had seen someone in trouble and decided to help. A man walked in carrying 2 children, one under each arm. His own leg was bleeding, but he didn't seem to notice. "These kids were trapped in a car," he said, finally showing signs of tiredness. "Parents are coming right behind us. They're helping others." More people kept coming. A woman with gray hair and strong arms led a group of injured people from a collapsed shop. She had a deep cut on her forehead, but waved away help. Others needed more, she insisted. Vix's medical sensors were overwhelmed by the mix of chemicals humans were producing. Pain signals mixed with something her translator called adrenaline, creating readings she had never seen before. Humans were lifting pieces of broken buildings that should have been too heavy for them. They were running on injured legs. They were staying conscious through injuries that should have knocked them out. "How are they doing this?" she asked Mike as they worked together to set a broken arm. "The physical strain alone." "Crisis response," Mike said, not looking up from his work. "Humans are good at it. Really good. We can push past normal limits when we need to." A group of emergency workers arrived, carrying someone on a makeshift stretcher. The human on it wasn't breathing. Vix checked her sensors. No heartbeat. By her medical training, this human was dead. But the emergency workers didn't stop. They started pushing on the human's chest, breathing air into their lungs. Vix watched in shock as they kept going, far longer than seemed reasonable. Then suddenly, the human gasped. Their hearts started beating. They were alive. "Impossible," Vix whispered. But she was learning that humans did impossible things all the time. The hours blurred together. Vix worked until her legs shook from the gravity, then kept working anyway. She saw humans doing even more. The medical staff worked for 36 hours straight, taking only short breaks. Some slept for 20 minutes in chairs, then went back to work. When backup finally arrived from other cities, Vix sat down to update her research notes. Her hand shook as she recorded what she had seen. "Humans show remarkable ability to ignore physical limitations during crisis," she dictated. "They appear to have secondary energy reserves that activate in emergencies. Most interesting is their pack behavior. They instinctively help others, even at risk to themselves. This seems to be a universal trait, not limited to medical professionals." She looked out the window at the damaged city. Already, humans were out there, fixing things, helping each other. The earthquake had tried to break their city, but it had shown Vix something important instead. Additional note, she added. Previous studies classify humans as dangerous due to their physical capabilities and aggressive potential. This may be an incomplete assessment. Their most remarkable trait appears to be their drive to help others. Perhaps this is why they survived their Deathworld. They faced its challenges together. Outside, the sun was rising on a new day. Humans were already rebuilding, already healing, already proving that they were stronger than any disaster their world could throw at them. Vix was starting to understand why. A week after the earthquake, Dr. Vix sat in the hospital cafeteria with Dr. Mike. She was finally getting used to Earth food, though she still needed her special supplements. They were looking at old human medical records on a tablet, and Vix couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Your bones just grow back stronger where they break?" she asked, her silver eyes wide with surprise. "And you discovered this thousands of years ago?" Mike nodded, taking a bite of his sandwich. "Yep. Ancient human healers noticed that healed bones were often stronger at the break point. They didn't know why back then, but they used that knowledge to help people heal better." Vix's neck frills twitched as she thought about this. But why would bodies work this way? On my world, any serious damage means permanent weakness. Mike put down his sandwich and pulled up some new images on the tablet. They showed ancient Earth, deep forests, vast plains, and lots of large, dangerous animals. "See, humans didn't start at the top," he explained. "We were small, weak creatures once. Everything tried to eat us. We didn't have claws or sharp teeth or thick skin. What we had was the ability to heal and adapt. But the energy cost." Vix started calculating in her head. To maintain such an aggressive healing system. "Worth it," Mike said. "Think about it. If you live in a world where you might break bones running from a predator, you'd better be able to heal those bones well enough to run from the next predator." Vix looked around the cafeteria at the other humans. They looked so normal now, eating and talking and laughing. But she was starting to see them differently. Each one was carrying millions of years of survival tools in their bodies. "What about the way you handle pain?" she asked. "I've seen humans stay conscious through injuries that would knock out any other species." Mike grinned. "Pain is just information. Somewhere in our past, we learned to process that information without letting it stop us. Had to, really. If you stop because something hurts, you die. If you keep going, you might live." He pulled up more images, humans in different environments, from frozen mountains to burning deserts. "We can live pretty much anywhere because we had to. Ice Age, we figured it out. Drought, we adapted. Our bodies remember every survival trick they ever learned." Vix thought about her own people. They had evolved on a peaceful world with perfect weather and few predators. Their bodies were efficient but fragile. Humans, though, humans were built to take damage and keep going. "The emergency workers during the earthquake," she said slowly. "The ones who kept lifting heavy things, even when they were tired and hurt. That's part of this too." "Exactly." Mike pointed at her excitedly. "Adrenaline, endorphins, increased heart rate, improved muscle efficiency. It's all built in. When things get bad, humans get stronger. We can push ourselves way past normal limits if we need to." Vix made more notes on her medical pad. "And the helping behavior. Everyone working together, even strangers. That might be the most important survival trick we learned," Mike said softly. "Humans are tough, but we're not the strongest or fastest. We survived because we worked together, helped each other, passed on knowledge." He showed her one last image, an ancient cave painting of humans hunting together. A lone human might die from a broken leg, but a group of humans, they'd carry their injured friend, feed them, help them heal. "We learned that we're stronger together than alone." Vix looked at her notes from the past month. Every impossible thing she'd seen humans do suddenly made more sense. They weren't breaking the rules of biology. They were following rules written by millions of years of survival on a deadly world. "I think," she said carefully, "I need to update my research. We've been studying human medical conditions all wrong. We keep looking for what makes humans different from us. But maybe we should be looking at what made them this way." Mike smiled. "Now you're getting it. Every weird thing about human biology, every impossible thing we do, it's all because Earth tried to kill us, and we refused to die." Outside the cafeteria windows, the city was still being rebuilt. Humans were out there working, lifting, building, helping, using all those ancient survival tools to make their world better. Vix watched them with new understanding. They weren't just surviving on a death world. They were thriving on it because everything that made Earth dangerous had helped make humans strong. The first signs of trouble came 2 months after the earthquake. A human patient arrived with strange symptoms, high fever, unusual skin patterns, and readings that made Dr. Vix's medical sensors give odd results. Within days, more cases appeared, affecting both humans and aliens. "We've got 15 new cases today," Mike said, looking tired as he checked the hospital's data. "And it's not just here. Other cities are reporting the same thing." Vix studied the readings from her latest patient. The virus was unlike anything she had seen before. It seemed to change and adapt quickly, finding new ways to attack different species. Most alien doctors had already left Earth, scared of this new threat. But Vix stayed. "Look at this," she called Mike over to her screen. "The humans are fighting it off better than anyone else. They get sick, yes, but their recovery rate is much higher." Mike nodded, but he looked worried. "Problem is, we're still getting hit hard, and we might be spreading it without knowing. Some humans don't show symptoms, but can still pass it on." An alarm sounded through the hospital. Another emergency case. This time, it was an alien diplomat, one of the few who hadn't evacuated. Their body was failing quickly, the virus attacking their systems in ways the human patients hadn't experienced. "Their immune system isn't fighting back at all," Vix said, checking her readings. "It's like they've never seen anything like this before." Then she stopped, an idea forming. "But humans have, haven't they?" Mike looked up from treating the patient. "What do you mean?" "Humans have faced thousands of viruses over their history," Vix said, her voice getting excited. "Your bodies learned from each one. What if—" She quickly pulled up more patient data. "Look, human blood samples show antibodies fighting this virus in ways I've never seen. Their immune systems aren't just fighting it, they're adapting to it." The next few days were busy with research. Vix worked with the human medical team, studying how their bodies fought the virus. What they found was amazing. Human immune systems were like warriors that remembered every battle they'd ever fought. When they met a new enemy, they used everything they'd learned before. "It's not just about having stronger immune systems," Vix explained to the hospital board. "Humans have built-in defenses from fighting diseases for millions of years. Their bodies remember tricks that worked against other viruses and try them against new ones." An older doctor spoke up. "But how does this help our alien patients?" Vix brought up her research data. "I think we can use human antibodies to help other species fight this virus. Their immune systems have already figured out several ways to attack it. If we can share that knowledge." The board agreed to try her idea. They worked day and night, using samples from recovered human patients to create treatments for others. It was dangerous work. Several doctors got sick, but they kept working anyway. Vix noticed that even when they were ill, the humans never stopped trying to help. One night, as she was processing new samples, Vix found Mike sleeping at his desk. He had been sick for 3 days but refused to go home. "The work's too important," he had said. Now he was running a fever, but still holding on to his research notes. Vix looked at her own medical readings. She was tired too, her body struggling with Earth's gravity and the long hours. But she understood now why she had to stay. Humans had survived on their death world, not just because they were tough, but because they never gave up. She turned back to her work, adding new data to their research. The virus was still spreading, but they were making progress. Human blood samples were showing them new ways to fight it every day. Their immune systems had learned from countless battles with disease, and now they were teaching those lessons to the rest of the galaxy. Outside the lab window, the city lights glowed in the dark. Somewhere out there, people were getting sick, but they were also getting better. Humans had faced diseases before. They had survived ice ages, predators, earthquakes, and countless other dangers. This was just one more challenge, and they would face it the way they faced everything else, by fighting back, helping each other, and refusing to give up. After 3 weeks of non-stop work, Dr. Vix was close to a breakthrough. The human blood samples had shown them something incredible. Their antibodies didn't just fight the virus. They changed to match its mutations. It was like watching evolution happen in fast motion. "The first treatment batch is ready," she told Mike, who had finally recovered from his own bout with the virus. "But we need to test it. It's never been done before, using human antibodies to help other species." Mike looked at the glowing blue liquid in the treatment container. "Any volunteers?" "Just one," Vix said quietly. She held up her arm, showing the first signs of the virus's skin patterns. "Me." Mike started to protest, but Vix shook her head. "I'm a doctor. I understand the risks, and I trust what I've learned about humans. Your bodies have been teaching me since I got here." The treatment wasn't gentle. Vix's body temperature rose dangerously high as the human antibodies began their work. Her medical sensors showed her own immune system trying to fight both the virus and the treatment. But the human antibodies did something unexpected. They seemed to teach her immune system how to fight better. "It's working," she said weakly, watching her own readings. "My immune system, it's copying what the human antibodies do, learning from them." Other doctors watched closely, taking notes as Vix's condition improved. Within 2 days, her fever broke. The skin patterns faded. Her body had not just fought off the virus. It had learned new ways to protect itself. "Your body accepted the treatment better than we expected," one of the human researchers said, studying her results. "But will it work on other species?" They didn't have to wait long to find out. More patients arrived every day, and with Vix's successful treatment as proof, many were willing to try the new cure. They learned that different species needed different amounts of the treatment. Some needed it to be modified slightly. But it worked. "I think I understand now," Vix told Mike as they watched a young alien patient recover. "Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill them in every way possible. Your bodies didn't just get stronger, they got smarter, more adaptable. And now you're helping other species do the same thing." Mike nodded, but he was looking at some new test results with a puzzled expression. "Speaking of adaptation, look at this. The patients we treated. Their immune systems are staying stronger even after the virus is gone, like they're remembering what they learned from the human antibodies." Vix checked the data herself. He was right. The treatment wasn't just curing the virus. It was teaching other species how to protect themselves better. Just like humans had learned from countless challenges on their Deathworld, now they were passing those lessons on to others. News of their success spread quickly. The hospital was flooded with requests for the treatment from across the galaxy. Other alien doctors who had left Earth started coming back, wanting to learn more about human medicine. "We need to document everything," Vix said, working on her research notes. "The way human antibodies adapt, how they teach other immune systems, the long-term improvements in treated patients. This could change medicine forever." She looked around the lab at her team, humans and aliens working together, learning from each other. The virus had tried to drive them apart, but instead, it had shown them something important. The very things that made Earth dangerous, the constant challenges, the need to adapt and change, had made humans into something remarkable. They weren't just survivors, they were teachers. One of their recovered patients, an alien child, stopped by the lab. She had been one of their first successful treatments. Now she was stronger than before, her body changed by what it had learned from human antibodies. "Thank you," her parents said to Vix. "We always thought Earth was too dangerous. But now we understand. The danger made humans strong, and they're sharing that strength with us." Vix nodded, watching the child play with a human doctor's stethoscope. The galaxy had called Earth a death world because everything there was deadly. But they had been wrong. Earth wasn't just a place of danger. It was a place of learning, of adaptation, of getting stronger. And now, thanks to a virus and a treatment born from human resilience, that lesson was spreading across the stars. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Dr. Vix stood once again before the Galactic Medical Council. The room was exactly as she remembered it, with light from 3 suns streaming through crystal windows. But everything else had changed, including her. She didn't need her gravity support belt anymore. Her body had grown stronger, adapted to Earth's heavy pull. The council members noticed this immediately, their neck frills twitching with surprise as she walked steadily to the center of the room. "Dr. Vix," the head elder began, "your reports from Earth have been remarkable. Some would say unbelievable. You claim that humans aren't just surviving on their death world, but that their adaptations could benefit the entire galaxy." Vix activated her presentation display. Images filled the air around her, medical scans, treatment results, and recovery data from hundreds of patients. "What you see here isn't just survival," she said confidently. "Humans don't just live on Earth. They learn from every challenge it presents. Their bodies remember these lessons, passing them down through generations. And now we've proved they can share these adaptations with other species." She showed them the virus treatment results. The council members leaned forward, their silver eyes widening as they saw the data. Patients from 50 different species, all successfully treated with modified human antibodies, all showing improved immune responses even months later. But the implications go far beyond disease treatment. Vix continued. "Look at this." She displayed her own medical scans. 6 months ago, I could barely stand in Earth's gravity. Now my bone density has increased by 40%. My muscle efficiency has doubled. My body learned from the humans around me, adapted like theirs do. An older council member spoke up. "Are you suggesting we've been wrong about Earth? About humans? We called Earth a death world because it's dangerous," Vix replied. "We classified humans as primitive because they seem aggressive, because they take risks, because they do things we consider impossible. But we weren't seeing the whole picture." She showed them more images, humans helping each other during the earthquake, doctors working through exhaustion during the virus outbreak, researchers sharing their findings with alien scientists. "Humans are strong because their world is dangerous," she explained. "They're adaptable because they have to be. They take risks because that's how they learn. And most importantly, they help others do the same. They don't just survive. They help everyone around them survive too." The council chamber was silent for a long moment. Then the head elder asked, "What are you proposing, Dr. Vix?" "I want to establish the first permanent alien medical research facility on Earth," she said, "not just for studying humans, but for learning with them. Their planet has taught them millions of years' worth of survival lessons. It's time we started learning those lessons too." She could sense the council members' biochemical signatures shifting. From doubt to curiosity, from fear to interest. They were beginning to understand what she had learned on Earth. "The humans have already agreed," she added. "They're offering space in their main medical complex. Teams from 50 worlds have already applied to join the research program. Even species that once refused to visit Earth are now asking to send doctors." The head elder looked at the other council members. One by one, they nodded. Finally, he turned back to Vix. "Your request is approved, Dr. Vix. But I have one question. Why do you think humans are so willing to share their advantages with us?" Vix smiled, remembering something Mike had told her. "Because that's another lesson they learned from their death world. You survive better together than alone." Humans never forgot that. Every time their planet challenged them, they survived by helping each other. Now they're just extending that help to the stars. As she left the council chamber, Vix felt her communicator buzz. It was a message from Mike. How did it go? She typed back quickly. They approved everything. I'm coming home. Home. She hadn't meant to think of Earth that way, but it was true. The Deathworld had changed her, taught her, made her stronger, just like it had done for humans for millions of years. And now, thanks to human willingness to share what they had learned, it would help change the galaxy too. The crystal towers of her homeworld glittered in the three suns' light, beautiful and perfect and safe. But Vix was ready to return to Earth, with its heavy gravity and dangerous weather and incredible humans. After all, how else would she keep learning?